Hi, everyone. My name is Valerie Hawes. I'm the Organizational Learning and Development Lead for Goodwill Columbus, and I want to welcome you back to our Facebook and YouTube pages. Today, I'm going to be talking about mastering situational questions using the CAR technique in an interview. So hopefully you've had a chance already to see our preparing for an interview presentation that I did earlier. If not, please take the time to go back. In that presentation, I talk about the different questions that are typically asked in an interview, things you should do to prepare properly for an interview so that you're ensuring to land the job, or at least you have a best chance at doing so. Right now, I want to talk most specifically about situational questions that are typically asked in an interview, the purpose for those questions, and the method in which you should answer it to ensure that you're giving a professional, thorough, and I guess the most preferred answers that the interviewer is looking for so that they can decide whether or not you're the best fit for their organization. So let's get started. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. See if that's going to happen. Add to the screen. There we go. All right, so let's talk about mastering these situational questions. Now, again, there are tons of questions that are thrown at you in the interview. Things like, why did you choose this as a career path? Or what kind of people do you find difficult to work with? Or that vicious, tell me about yourself. You'll hear me talk a lot about that in the preparing for an interview presentation that I did earlier. What can you offer to our company that someone else cannot? But those situational questions in particular tend to stump people, and a lot of times people miss the mark. So I'm going to share with you some things you can do to ensure that you get the best results. So let's see here. The reasons for an interview, as I mentioned in the previous presentation, are several reasons for the interview as far as the interviewer is concerned. One, they want to find out if you can do the job. So that's why they ask you questions to determine your knowledge and experience. And sometimes they'll ask you to do a demonstration, or they may have some online tests for you to complete. They also want to find out if you will fit in, how well you communicate. And that's where these behavioral / situational questions come in. It's an opportunity for you to describe yourself and present your goals, your strengths, and your weaknesses. Again, I don't like that term weakness. I like to say areas for development. And then also they want to find out if you want to do the job. They want to find that out. So they're going to ask you questions about your availability, what preferred work environments you flourish in, and what knowledge you have about the company. Because again, doing some research on the company is key. That's going to demonstrate your level of interest. And they want to know why you want to work there. But I also tell people that the interview is just not a one-sided experience. It is also an opportunity for you to find out from them whether or not they are the right fit for you. It's not just about you fitting into their culture. You need to find out if they are a best fit for you, your goals, and your work preference. So let's move on. Okay, so situational and behavioral questions, they typically inquire about a situation in your past. They most often relate to work experiences, and it usually sounds like a negative situation. If you hear the question, it'll sound negative, but you have to turn it into a positive, okay? So here's an example. Tell me about a time when you had to deal with a difficult customer. How do you resolve that situation? Now, let me say this. In the event that you do not work with customers directly, and when we say customers in this sense, I mean external customers, people that come to the company, maybe you're in a retail situation. Maybe you have a client services sort of situation. In those cases, those are external customers. But if you don't work with external customers, trust me, you still have customers. So customer service experience is something that you'll want to highlight in the interview. Every job requires a certain level of customer service, okay? And that might mean you have internal customers. Maybe there are other teammates that you have to work with that you provide a service to. There may be other teams that you work with and you all have to provide a service to one another. Those two are situations that you can reference as your answers when they ask you about difficult customers. Now, let's be clear here too. We all have people. Maybe they're not difficult. Maybe they're just challenging, right? We have people that we don't always mesh with naturally, but we still have to find a way to work together so that we can achieve a common goal, okay? So let's talk about some of those things and how we go about answering these types of questions. Again, the purpose of the situational and behavioral questions are to find out if your behavior or how you respond in negative or difficult situations. They want to know what happened, what did you do, and what was the result? What did you learn in that experience, okay? Now, what's also important to remember is that the question is designed to find out if you've used the appropriate conflict resolution and communication skills in the past. Now, if you're worried about your level of conflict resolution, please check out our previous presentations on those subjects about basic communication skills and conflict management, okay? Those things everyone needs to find a way to effectively and positively work through because we're always going to deal with conflict, and conflict is just a matter of having two or more opposing views. It doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't have to be a fight. It just means that we think differently. So how do we come to a resolution? And you'll have to do that with customers as well. So they want to find out how good are you with your communication skills and your ability to resolve conflict. What did you do? So in answering situational or behavioral questions, you'll want to use what we call the CAR method. CAR is an acronym that stands for context, action, and result. Context refers to what was the issue or the situation that you're confronted with. Action are the steps that you took to address the problem. And then the result is how did the situation get resolved? And remember, you want to make sure that you are giving a positive result. Positive, not a negative one. That's how you'll just demonstrate your effective conflict management skills. And please, whatever you do, never make up an answer. Always be truthful. In the event that you have not experienced that situation in the workplace, maybe you reference something in your personal life. But please keep it above board and please don't go too personal. Or one other suggestion I always say is that if you have not experienced that in the workplace, you want to be honest about that and ask them, is it okay to answer this question from a hypothetical standpoint? In other words, if you haven't experienced it, maybe you answer it as if you were to experience it in the future, this is how you would react. And ask them if that's okay. So use the CAR technique to answer situation questions. So for one, the C for context, tell the basic situation. In doing that, you're going to answer, what work were you doing at the time? What was the problem or the actual issue? And why was the situation difficult? So here's an example from Stephen, all right? One day, while I was working the register at a clothing store, a man came in and he wanted to return some shoes. but he didn't have a receipt or the box that the shoes came in. I could tell he was getting very upset. He said he was tired of getting the runaround. Now here's the situation. What work was he doing? He was working the register at a clothing store. What was the problem or the issue? Well, the gentleman came in. He didn't have the receipt for the shoes and he didn't have the box that the shoes came in. That could be troublesome, right? That could be problematic because now you don't know if this person really bought the shoes here. And then that's why it's so difficult to deal with that problem. So now let's look and see, how did Stephen handle it? Let's talk about the actions that Stephen took. The actions are the steps that he took to resolve the problem. What did you do to keep the situation calm, and who did you involve to resolve the issue at hand? So here's the example. Well, first, I apologized to him because he was having the difficulty returning the shoes. Then I asked if he would please tell me what had happened on the phone or who he'd spoken to. He said that he didn't remember the names, but that he explained to three different people on the phone that his wife had thrown the box with the receipt in it before he told her he was going to return those shoes in the first place. And that's why he didn't have the receipt. So in this situation, to keep things calm, the first thing Stephen did was he apologized. Sometimes apologizing, even though Stephen didn't lose the box, Stephen didn't throw the box and the receipt away, the wife did. But Stephen is sorry that the man is frustrated and sorry that this happened. So he apologizes. And who all did he involve in the situation? Well, in this case, it doesn't sound like he had to involve anyone that he is going to deal with the situation. And you'll see how in just a second. So again, this is how Stephen described what he did. I listened to everything he had to say without interrupting. I apologized for his troubles again and told him if I could ask a few questions, I would do my best to help him. He seemed to calm down a bit and said, okay. The first question I asked him was whether he paid cash or credit card. He said he paid with a credit card. I asked him if he had that credit card with him that he had used. And when he said yes, I said, great. We can look up your purchase by your credit card. How about that? So in this case, he didn't have to involve anybody else. What he did do was he asked the gentleman, did he pay cash or credit? Because Stephen realized I can search for this particular transaction if I know that credit card number. And sure enough, the gentleman had the card handy. Good stuff. Let's see. Okay, I gotta go to the next slide. There we go. Now, sorry guys. I'm a little too frisky with the mouse. So here in this case, using the card technique from the example, the interviewer would have learned that Stephen kept calm in a difficult situation, that Stephen apologized to the customer to help calm down the situation at hand. Stephen was empathetic. He let the customer talk without interrupting him. Stephen was resourceful because he thought of a way to find out about the purchase and to track down that purchase. And then also Stephen wanted to keep the customer happy and to build the reputation of the store. Every action you take is a reflection of not just yourself as a professional, but as the organization. A company wants to see that that's demonstrated. And by answering this question using the CAR technique, he's able to do just that. So here's some things to remember about using the CAR technique. Again, don't be dishonest, all right? If you think of a real example from your work experience, tell them that and use an example from your personal life experience if you can. Or again, ask them if you can answer from a hypothetical situation. Also, the interviewer is trying to find out how you will handle difficult situations. As an employee, how would you represent the company? And then again, you want to be concise, keep it short, but be relevant. You want to make sure you provide names and date. Names and dates are not as relevant. You want to make sure you're just giving concise information about the situation at hand. Okay. And then last but not least, use an example that has a positive outcome. From here, the interviewer just wants to remember you in a positive way, not in a negative way. And they want to know that you're going to represent them in a positive way as well. So when using the CAR technique, I want you to think of 2 or 3 examples from your work experience. This is how you can practice. Think of 2 different experiences, write them down, and rehearse telling your story. Go back to the screen, those questions that I listed that are possible situational questions that may be asked in the interview. You'll want to use those, write them down, write down your answers, and then practice, practice, practice. The more you practice, the less rehearsed it'll actually sound when you're asked that question, okay? So with practice, you can feel prepared, you can feel confident in the interview, and you can be ready to give really great examples. Also, do some research. Look at these questions and look at the answers that are out there in the internet. Honey, there are all sorts of examples of people who are applying for the same types of roles that you are applying for, and positive answers to these questions that you can also sort of use as a guide as how you should give your true life experience when faced with these things. Oh, that's it for me. With that, again, I just want to thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully now you're better prepared to answer some of those situational and behavioral questions. Also, I want to remind you of a couple of things. Here at Goodwill Columbus, we offer very special assistance in resume development and interview prep, and even on how best to search for the jobs that you're looking for. We offer this at no charge, free of charge, to get personalized service so that you are presenting your best self. And so if you are interested in getting this type of assistance, please follow this link right here. You can schedule a meeting with someone on our team. Also, we are offering those expert resume developers to help you in developing your resume. Maybe you just want a consultation. Maybe you have a resume already and you just want someone to take a look at it and give you some tips. And then if so, please let us know, because we want to help you out. And again, it's free of charge. Why not? Why not? Okay. So please check us out. And if there's anything else that we can do for you, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you for joining us today. Every day, Monday through Thursday, we are here at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. with new presentations to share. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. The moderator will be available to answer any of your questions, all right? Until the next time, please stay safe, stay healthy, and happy hunting for that next best job, all right? Thank you, and have a great day.